Good day and welcome. It's nice to see you and welcome to our session for today. Let me just hear myself. It is summer is coming here in the Manila. It's dry season, so I hope everybody's staying hydrated wherever you are. I hear also in some parts of India it's getting pretty hot, so I hope everybody's staying pretty cool within the weather. And we will begin our session shortly. So hello again, everybody, and welcome. Really glad you carved out some time to be here with us today. Before we begin, just a quick housekeeping note. If you haven't yet, please rename yourself on Zoom with your name and organization. It really helps us to know who's in the room and makes it easier to connect after those. We should keep talking about this moments throughout this whole session today. For those I haven't met yet, my name is Rod. I'm joining you from Manila, and I serve as the community choreographer at Pollinate Impact, which means I get to design spaces like this where we bring people into conversation and not just content. So I want to start with something quite simple. At Pollinate Impact, we often hear about the relationship between incubators, accelerators, ESOs, and investors. But more often than not, those interactions happen in very specific places. Pitch rooms, demo days, investing or funding conversations, spaces where there's already something at stake, right? And while those spaces are very important, they don't always leave much room for something else that's just as valuable, which is understanding each other. How investors think, how incubators think, how decisions get made, what makes a strong partnership beyond just a deal. And that's really where the session comes in. So the conversation is a part of our Funding Flora series, where we create space for more open, honest, and grounded dialogue between incubators and accelerators and different types of capital providers and ecosystem stakeholders. Today, we're focusing specifically on investor networks, and we are glad to be joined by two from different parts of the world, one from Africa, Kenya specifically, and one in Indonesia. And personally, this is something that I've been really excited and curious to see how this dialogue is going to go, because across our community, across the network, there's been this ongoing challenge. How do incubators and investors actually work better together? Not just at the point of investment or funding, but even earlier, more collaboratively, more intentionally. And one of the things we realized is that we don't actually have enough spaces like this where we can just listen, ask questions, and learn from each other without the pressure of a pitch or an outcome. So today is really about that. It's a chance to step out of transactional spaces and into something more relational and reflective. Righty. So if we can go to the next slide, please, Kavya. Over the next hour, here's how we'll spend our time together. We'll start with a quick check-in with Tess, just to get a sense of who's in the room. And then we'll move into a conversation, introducing our speakers, and then some reflections from the investor networks, hearing directly from them about how they operate, how they think about partnerships, and what they look for when engaging with incubators. We'll then open it up for questions and dialogue, so you can bring in your own curiosities, challenges, and perspectives, as well as also questions from our speakers today that we'll get into later. And we'll close with a short reflection and checkout, grounding what we're taking away and what this might shift in how we engage moving forward. So again, just to anchor as we go, this isn't a space to pitch. It's not a space to impress. It's really a space for us to understand, be honest, connect, and learn. Okay, so next slide, please. I just want to take a moment to invite you a little deeper into the Pollinate Impact community. For those of you who are already part of this network, this is also a reminder of what's available to you and how we can continue to engage. For those who may be newer or exploring, here's a glimpse of what being part of the Pollinate Impact Network can look like. So as a member, there are different opportunities that you will be able to really take advantage of, like these things. So this Funding Flora series, this one is available to non-members. The next two will be members only. So this is a way for us to engage with donors and ecosystem support organizations and other very exciting opportunities if you join the network. Right, next slide. If you're looking for ways to plug in also in terms of events, here are some spaces. And again, these are all members only coming up in April. So we have a member orientation to get grounded in the network and how to make the most out of your membership. We have our second installment of the series, now conversations with sector specialized investors in health, climate, and gender on April 8th, where we continue this conversation, but with a deeper dive into certain sectors. And then lastly, for members here in the room, we have our annual general meeting coming up on April 22, which is a time for us to kind of come together, reflect, and shape what's ahead. If any of these seem interesting, you can check out our events page on the website to learn more and sign up. And of course, if there's anyone in your network who you think should be part of this, we'd love for you to invite them. All right. Thank you, everybody, for being here today, for your openness and being part of these conversations. We'll get into it and we'll start with a quick check-in. So I will hand it over to Tess, who will take us through the activity. Tess.
Fantastic, fantastic. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our session. My name is Tess. I am based out of Nairobi, Kenya. I am the network nurturer, which basically means that I facilitate intentional connections within the network. For our next check-in space, we're going to put all of you in two to three in each breakout room. And you are going to introduce one another, get to know the person who you're with in your breakout room. Please note there are no note takers on the call. So you are going to be having a conversation with a person. And we are going to be answering this question that I have put in the chat, which is, what's one assumption you had about investor incubator relationships that changed when you actually started doing this work? And how did that shift your approach? So you're going to be in a breakout room for 7 minutes. Please take the time to have everyone share, and then we're going to come back into the main room and we're going to get 1 to 2 responses on some of the assumptions that each of you had while you were in the breakout rooms. So the breakout rooms are going to be opening right about now. And yeah, happy chatting, happy connecting.
Right. Welcome back, everybody. I think these are really great conversations, at least from our check-in from Ngan and Ali, who were part of my group. It was really great. Tess, is there
Yeah,
any
no, thanks so much. Yeah, welcome back, everyone. I see everyone is smiling, which means that you had good conversations. Interesting to hear. Anything interesting that came up for you in your group? Any assumptions or anything that you shared that was interesting? I'd love to hear a couple of responses from the group. Please feel free to unmute, or you can drop it in the chat, whatever makes you feel the most comfortable. So yeah, let me know. What did you hear? What was interesting? Please don't be shy. Come on. Let us know. Let us know what stood out for you in your conversation or in your breakout room. Um, yeah.
Hi, Tess.
Hi, Nduta.
Thank you. We were with were two ladies, Litness from Malawi, and I didn't get a chance to speak to the second lady. But we did discuss collaboration in design, especially in just execution, where incubators and investors, the assumption was one side should design and then the other should fund, but really it's about coming together and being able to look at the interest of all stakeholders involved. So I did appreciate to hear that from Malawi as well, because I'm based in Kenya.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Nduta. So Nikki says our conversation ended up crossing into post-colonial experience, but we weren't able to finish it. No worries, no worries. Feel free to connect post the convening. Is there anyone else who'd like to share something interesting that they had in their breakout room? I welcome you to unmute. Rod, what was going on in your breakout room?
Yes. So this was really nice. So I really like my breakout room. I was with Ngan of Impact Hub Saigon and Ali of Make Sense. And I think one thread that connected with us sharing was really how we need to think beyond this relationship with investors as just they're here to invest in my portfolio as an incubator, but like really them as humans, and also like especially that we're all working within impact, supporting the enterprise beyond the investment, because you really don't know what that effect can do, right? Like just beyond in like investing, but actually like supporting the business, because they can do that, or they have a network of other investors who actually might be interested. And the only way that that can happen is if they're able to really understand and you're able to build that trust and relationship. So that was really great, like really a good conversation around this. So thank you for that question, Tess, for the check-in.
No, you're most welcome. I want to close this up, but is there anyone who has something burning that they'd like to share before I close this off? Anything interesting that you heard in your breakout room? All right. I will take that as you are choosing to keep the insights and are marinating and, sitting with them. That is totally allowed. Thank you so much for participating. I hope this was a fantastic way to start your session. And I'm going to hand it over back to Rod.
Thank you. Thanks, Tess, and thank you, everybody. I hope you all had really great conversations. I'm sure you did. So we will now go straight to getting to know our speakers, our guests for today, and then starting the conversation from there. So let me share my screen and hopefully everybody can see it. We have here with us Fiona and David today, and I will give them the floor in a bit just to introduce themselves. So their name, where they're from, or organization, what region do they cover, or country. And then just a little something fun for us is what's something that you invest in outside of work that brings you joy or impact. So I'll give the floor first to Fiona so that she can introduce herself. So Fiona, please go ahead.
Hi everyone. Thank you, Rod, for the invitation. Really excited to be a part of this. So as Rod has mentioned, I'm Fiona Kiruja, based out of Nairobi, Kenya, born and raised. I lead the African Angel Academy, and we are based out of Africa, and also a bit in the diaspora. The academy spans over 33 plus African countries and 5 global markets. So in total, about 38 countries across the globe. And something fun. I've been trying to think about this question for a minute, but what comes to mind is a recent interest that I've picked up. So I am an upcoming author. I will be publishing my book later this
Amazing.
year. And it's not the actual the normal kind of book. So it's a Christian-based leadership book for kids ages 3 to 6, with family exercises so that we're able to nurture the next generation of leaders on the continent and beyond.
Awesome. Oh, that's really great. All the best on this book, Fiona. That sounds amazing.
Thank you.
Alrighty. David must have had some little bit of a technical issue. Okay, here he is. He is back. Let me just give a moment, but yeah, it's really great to have Fiona here with us. And now I will give the floor over to David to introduce himself.
Hi, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry, I think I just dropped my connection. We have a thunderstorm in Jakarta. So yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much, for making space for me today. David Sukesing here. I'm the managing director of ANGIN, which is kind of an acronym for Angel Investment Network Indonesia. We are based in Jakarta, mostly operating in the, I will say, Indonesian archipelago, but we try to also expand a little bit in different parts of the world, including Philippines, Myanmar, and recently Middle East and Central Asia. Sectors was it the question about what I do on the side or what I invest in,
Yes,
right?
correct.
Yeah, so maybe in connections to incubation, we love to invest in young artists. You know, a lot of artists don't necessarily know how to engage with markets and gallery and don't have necessarily cash flow to do more work. So we try to identify this young talent, give them a bit of funding, train them, and bring them to different part of Jakarta art scene. So it's a bit of an incubation of young artists we do on the side, and I think that's really exciting to see some of them making all the way to Hong Kong. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, David. And thank you again, Fiona. Something that I learned, so when I had my conversation with David before this session, so angin also means wind, right? In Bahasa, David, if I'm
It is
correct.
correct.
So
It is correct.
hangin in Filipino also means wind. So just some kind of similarities, which is really great to realize sometimes when you have these conversations. So yeah, some fun facts for those on the call. All right, so we'll go straight to the conversation. So maybe we'll start with Fiona first. Can you briefly, I know you did a little bit in the start, but if you can briefly introduce your network, especially who are the investors that are part of it, and then what the journey of building the network has looked like so far for you. So Fiona, if you'd like to go first.
Happy to. So the African Angel Academy was launched back in 2020, and it was formed out of the clear need that there is a knowledge gap when it comes to early stage investing on the continent, where we're having a lot of people dive into investing without the proper fundamentals around it. So it was founded by three key individuals who are also experienced angel investors. That's Stephen Gugu, who is the founder of ViKtoria Ventures and also the first angel network in Nairobi, the Victoria Business Angel Network. Alexander Fraser, who's based out of South Africa, and is the founder of Viridian Africa and leads a female-only angel investment network in South Africa called Dazzle Angels, and David Van Dyke, who also leads efforts within investments in Europe and leads work on technical assistance at Boost Africa. So, what the academy does, it operates on three pillars, which is training of active and aspiring angel investors across the continent and beyond. So, we work with a lot of angel networks. So, hopefully, again, David will be having a conversation after this, hopefully, and research and content development, where we work and collaborate with organizations such as the Africa Business Angel Network, Brighter, and other development partners to push out reports, legal guides on syndication structures across various African markets, and also in deal facilitation. Where with our community, which currently has over 800 angel investors across the continent and beyond, we work to support them in making their first investments. One thing I like saying is that no angel investment journey is complete until you've made your first deal. So, and in that respect, is our alumni network have gone ahead and made an estimated $7.2 million in investing in early stage ventures, both tech and non-tech deals over the past 5 years. We're currently celebrating our 6 years, our sixth year. And the building so far has been definitely a journey of learning, iterating, and adapting, and knowing that it's really the spirit and the passion of the community behind the work that we do that brings forth the impact that early stage investors are able to have on the continent and beyond.
Right. Thank you, Fiona. And you said you started in 2020, is that right?
Yes, COVID time.
Wow. So 6 years, and there's been a lot of achievements already. So that sounds exciting. I can't wait to hear what 6 years down the road, what that looks like for the African continent as well. Thank you so much. I'll hand it over to David to introduce Angin and their
Yeah,
journey.
sure, sure. We have quite a long journey because we have been around for about 12 years, a little bit more than 12, but we have quite an interesting journey. So it was back in 2012. The US was very active in supporting entrepreneurship in Indonesia, especially Jakarta. So the US, with some grant from USAID and some local funding, established a program called GEPI, Global Entrepreneurship Program Indonesia. And GEPI was mostly an incubators and also an accelerator and a co-working space. And one idea to support even more some of the entrepreneurs was to set up an angel network. That's how ANGIN was born, out of an incubators. And back in 2014, obviously the grant was not meant to last forever, and funding issues started to appear. And this is where some of the board members asked me to join back in 2014 and to try to save ANGIN, one of the program of GEPI, because there were no funding anymore. So we spin off ANGIN from this GEPI, and we try step by step to build a sustainable model so we can avoid being dependent on grant and donation. So we started to establish different revenue stream. We started to do support to investors. We started to do research, event, workshop, a lot of things, basically everything meant to survive. And step by step, we try to restructure everything to have a very sound and logical business model. And at the moment, the way we sort of establish the organizations, we have three entities. One is taking care of the investment part, which act as an intermediary between investors. I would say half are angel investors, individual investors, and half are institutionals. So we work with banks, foundation, family offices, even organizations like ADB Ventures, and we try to be a trusted partners on the ground to deploy funding. Right? So this is what we call an investment. From all the work I mentioned we were doing, research events, we also structure something called ANGIN advisory, where we mostly do consulting for different organizations, government, UN agencies, development agencies. And this is where we mostly do project management. We just finalized a research on impact investment. We did publish one on accelerator and incubators across Southeast Asia. I think it was back in 2018, supported by Sasakawa Peace Foundation, for instance. And lastly, we have also our own foundation to help us working on some projects which are, I would say, a bit more frontier, a bit more grassroots, where we work with very different type of stakeholders, but still in the idea of bringing innovators and the spirit of entrepreneurship up. So I've been running the organization for about 11 years. We have, I think, supported over 350 investors. We have still around 150 investors active. And over the last 10 years, we have supported 150 companies and deploy around, I think, $35 to $37 million.
Great. Thanks, David. So really for ANGIN, the journey looked like kind of expanding beyond like angel investment to include different actors, different kinds of investors, and now having different branches within ANGIN in terms of having different roles within the ecosystem as well.
Yeah, so I
Great.
mean, it was both driven by market needs, but also our own need to develop our funding sources, right, and revenue model. So that's how we managed to be self-sustaining since day one.
Great. All right, which brings us to a really great connection to this one. And I think maybe I can start with David for this question. So within all of these different structures within ANGIN, David, what makes an incubator, accelerator, and ESO stand out as maybe like a strong pipeline partner for your network/organization?
Yeah. And I can be very honest, right?
Yes,
I think the
please.
first one, what really make it stand out is the motivation of the project managers. I think we see a lot of incubators, accelerator, sort of, they answer requests for proposal and they win and they set up this accelerator without necessarily having always the skill set. Maybe they were very good grant applicant or like RFP writer, but not necessarily operator. So I think at the end, we really try to see the motivation. Is it just to fill the box, or there's really a strategy and a very strong mindset behind. So I think that's what really stand out. And right now, if I look at, I think we have worked maybe with 100, it was 80% among the first bucket, right? They answer a proposal, and then, so it's not necessarily part of a strategy. We don't know. They don't know if they're going to continue the next year. So it's always dependent on funding, etc., right? And obviously, I think the second part is they have KPI, right? I think a lot of these accelerators we encounter don't have necessarily KPI beyond attendance during the demo day or the number of applicants. And I run a lot of them, so I know my KPI from the donors was mostly we need X number of applicants, we need X numbers of shortlisted applicants, and we need an impact report, and we need X number of investors at the demo day. But we were expecting maybe KPI around how much funding is being raised, or funding that makes sense, or what is maybe the survival rate over a certain period of time, et cetera, right? But and we pay more attention right now on this KPI to understand as well what is driving the operation of these incubators or accelerators.
Great.
And the last one, I think, strong pipeline. I think we also pay attention a lot to what we call sometimes curriculum or program. And to be sure it's not like just cosmetic, type of support. So sometimes hiding a bit, the issues are just making things look prettier, but the backbone of the organizations or the core of the organization is not fixed, right? So I think that's also what we pay more attention as well.
Thanks, David. So really, what I hear it boils down to is really like clarity of purpose, like with
purpose, motivation,
engaging. Correct. Yeah. And being clear about the kind of KPIs that
alignment, and then obviously quality of the work. Yeah.
Quality of the program. Thank you so much. All right. I'll head on over to Fiona on your end. When you work with incubators and accelerators, what makes them a strong pipeline partner for you?
I think David has touched on quite a lot with regards to that, because we serve the same target audience in terms of early stage investors. But a few things that I could add with regards to this is also in terms of the level at which they prepare the startups of their pipeline for investment readiness. One thing that we identified is looking at what is the investment readiness process that the pipeline undergoes. Are they aware of investment instruments that early stage investors are likely to lean into or to leverage? Are they aware of the kind of requirements or the information that is required in the data rooms? Are their data rooms clean? Has there been any due diligence process, for instance, with regards to the founders, and also looking at the angle of sustainability and scalability? Is it really solving a need in the ecosystem with regards to the pipeline that they have in the portfolio or their network? Because, and I'm sure David will agree here, when you're working with angel investors, it's really essential to ensure that, since they are the early on believers and are taking on the highest risk from the onset, it's essential that your data rooms are clean, your impact story is clean and is actually real, that it can be easily identified. So when that is clear, when you're and also when you understand the investment process or the tools as well, it makes negotiation with angel investors a bit easier, and leaning towards more deals being made. So just to add, those are some key things that we also look at when we're looking to engage, especially during deal days at AAA. We call the African Angel Academy AAA. So there's a AAA and the startup showcases at the end of each cohort. Those are some key criteria that as we engage, we let them know that, hey, this needs to be clear so that we're able to get the best and also ensure that your pipeline is receiving the best kind of attention at the end of the day.
Great. Thanks. Thank you, Fiona. I think this also, yeah, does really add into like clarity, right? Like not just clarity of communication, but like of the process with due diligence and being really investment ready. And I really appreciate that you kind of broke it down, right? Like the investment instruments that they use, due diligence, their data, the impact story, are these all prepared and clean and can actually be attributed to the organization? And also the scalability part. I think that was really great to highlight. All right, I'll go to the last question for now so that we can open it up. So for those on the audience, if you'd like to also put in your questions in the chat, you are open to anything from the discussion so far that you've also found helpful, let us know. But before that, maybe I'll start with Fiona for this one. We know that there's still kind of maybe a gap in terms of maybe the relationship between incubators and investors. And that's why we're also here today to kind of talk about this. And what I'd like to know, and I guess people in the room also, is from your perspective, where are incubators and investor networks missing opportunities to collaborate better? Or basically, what are still opportunities that we can still take to further collaborate as these two organizations? Fiona, whenever you're ready.
Yeah, sure. I'd like to take it a step back a little bit. And where I'd like to start with this is one of the things that, within the academy we've identified over the past couple of years is with regards to the misalignment or understanding in the general ecosystem, whether it's with the entrepreneur support organizations, the hubs, the accelerators, etc., or even the wider ecosystem in itself, with understanding the early stage investment ecosystem for starters, understanding the early stage investment ecosystem, its prospects, its processes, its approaches, and also understanding particularly angel investment as a potential avenue to engage when it comes to early stage raising. And leaning a bit more on that, it's also looking at, for instance, in preparing the pipeline, and I really like leaning into the pipeline preparation because that's where it all starts, right? In preparing the startups, the pipeline to really understand, do they themselves understand the investment instruments that the early stage investors use? Are they preparing the pipeline just to be pitch ready or actually investment ready? And this, includes, do they understand some of the instruments such as convertible notes, safe instruments, revenue-based financing, all these models that angel investors use? And when there is a clear understanding of the early stage investment ecosystem and the landscape in itself, understanding the respective asset classes such as angel investing, and ensuring that as they work with the founders, they are clear based on the stage or the readiness in terms of the the idea. Is it already post revenue? Is it, what stage is it at? Is it pre-seed? Is it still idea? And really ensuring that they equip the pipeline with the understanding of this, based on your stage, this is the right kind of investor that you would target. Prior to working with early stage investors, I did support a lot of founders over a decade, and also was a founder myself. So I could see the misalignment in terms of, or the need to be pitch ready, have your deck looking really nice and pretty, have images, have all of that. But when the hard questions really came, and this is also an experience I personally had, when the hard questions really came and you're facing the investors and they're asking about your total addressable market, they're asking about your projected revenues, you find that a lot of founders are stuck, right? Are stuck because there is really a gap in terms of that understanding, and that's where the money is lost. The other bit is with regards to also understanding and speaking specifically with regards to angel investors with it's really with regards to understanding that um, what is the long game here, and what additional value can I get from the investor I'm engaging with? How can the incubators prepare them to understand that yes, your ask initially as you're raising funds will be around the capital that you're raising, but also think about what are the additional values, because for investors, and they provide their own value chain, right? There is the capital that they do provide. There is the advisory. David earlier mentioned having skin in the game. There is the governance support. There is removing bottlenecks for the founders, and incubators and accelerators really need to add some emphasis when it comes to help founders understand that it's beyond just the capital that you need to think as you're engaging the investors, I mean. And the final point that I would like to share on this is with regards to the updates and investor engagement post the investment and the processes around that, helping them really understand that, you know, just being honest, clear, and open with your investor will help you move further along much faster than trying to when the quarterly updates come around and you're hiding to because there's either been no movement around any investments, or there's no revenue that has come in, or new partnerships. And really during the check-ins, whether whatever cadence there is, whether quarterly or monthly with your investor, really being open and honest that this is what is happening, this is the situation, this is where we'd like to go. We are struggling to figure out how to go here, or this is the bottleneck that we're facing. Do you have a network, a connect, an idea of how we can best navigate this? Because at the end of the day, whether angel investor or otherwise, the underlying pin is usually return on investment and impact. So it's important for the incubators and accelerators to really be honest and give the real spiel to the pipeline on this is how to do it before, as you prepare for investment readiness. This is how to engage and think about the value beyond the initial capital. So, and this is the process that you need to follow as you're really engaging your investors post the investment round. I'll stop there. I could ramble forever.
No worries. No, that was really helpful, Fiona. I saw some reactions from the group. So thank you so much for that. I see that David is ready. Maybe I'll hand it over to David first and then, yeah, go ahead, David.
Yeah, maybe 2 points on my side. I think what happened is a lot of incubators, accelerator, you guys spend quite a lot of time with the founders, and not only the founders, the team, and this is valuable insight and valuable time you spend with them. And I think what is missing sometimes is to see this time spent as a risk mitigation. I think a lot of investors, including our angels and institutionals, are not only focusing right now on return and opportunity, but the risk assessment is stronger and stronger, right? So I think, how do you leverage this time and this experience as a risk mitigation tool that you can actually sell to investors So we come to you not only to get opportunity, but to get insight on this entrepreneurs from this risk point of view. This is something we are trying to explore a bit more. And maybe a last, and I leave more time to the crowd is our angels are not only pocket of money, right? They are running organizations, founded great conglomerate, and they have more than offer than money. So I think how do this incubator accelerator leverage these high net worth individuals or angels as potential partners? Sometimes these startups don't not only need funding, but they need supply chain partners, they need distributors, they need even office space, they need assets and resources that some of these investors can provide. So how we can actually turn some of this program not only as, oh, you get a demo, then you get showcased to receive funding, but how you can actually get your first clients or your first anchor from these investors. And it's a good way for the investors to start also getting to know these companies. So right now, for instance, in my case, a lot of my investors, they say, look, David, I will not invest first. I want to work with them. I want to give them a chance with a first PO, a first contract, and then let's see, the investment might come a bit later, but I would love to access them and work with them first. So risk management and cooperation between funding, beyond
Thank
funding.
you. Thanks, David, and thank you, Fiona. I think a lot of people are getting really good insights. I see reactions. Somebody commented on the chat as well. I think something that I'm learning here also is, again, taking that step back to really understand what kind of support angel investors or investors in general can give beyond capital, and that there are ways to work with investors that might not necessarily be capital immediately, but like if you learn and you're able to also understand the kind of value that your enterprises bring, and you're able to communicate this and know which investors would be interested, then it makes things easier. It makes the collaboration much smoother between the investor and incubator. So thank you both for your insights so far. I'd love to open it up to the room now for any questions, even insights or your experiences, right? Like from what we've heard from David and Fiona today, or even build from what we've heard, just like what Nikki has done in the chat, building on what Fiona has mentioned. I just love to open it up for any questions. You can put it in the chat. You can also just raise your hand and unmute. And here's some like guide questions if you need, so that you can think about anything that you'd like to ask or share to the group. So yeah, opening it up. Hi, Gladys. Yes, please go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, and the team. As I listen to our speakers today, they sound like, people dealing with these big volume businesses. And from where I stand, most of us deal with, small scale incubators, enterprises, people like youth or women starting small scale businesses for like their livelihoods. So do they look at those kind of businesses, or of course incubators or the startups to support them? That's my question. Of course, through organized groups like us or any other, incubator.
Right. Thanks, Gladys. So if I'm understanding correctly, asking about whether their investors also support, I'm guessing like micro enterprises, right? Like smaller, very small enterprises made by youth and women, just like what your group does, your incubator. Did I get your question correctly?
Yes, that's what
All
I
right,
meant.
great. Maybe I'll start with David. David, would you like to?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have mentioned, right? So we started obviously with the regular like startup, I will say focus, tech enabled, tech focus type of organizations, but we went actually beyond this, working as well with non-tech entrepreneurs and trying to go as, I will say, upstream or early as possible. So we did actually invest in very, very early stage things that are still on paper, one founders, very grassroots as well. I think the smaller ticket we did was $5,000. It was done to a single mother in a remote part of Indonesia, doing a very small food stand. And so at the end, yes, we do. This is why we have our foundation as well, to be able to work with this type of market, which is not necessarily our main focus, but the foundation is able to cater and support this entrepreneur. So we do it through investment, obviously different natures. We don't do equity. We sometimes do very small soft loans or grants or refundable grants or revenue-based type of investment. But yeah, that was actually our main motivation to build these foundations, to be able to invest in these entrepreneurs who are totally overlooked by the market and get usually very high cost of funding through loan sharks and there is actually a big demand on this one.
Thanks, David. Fiona, anything you'd like to add?
Yeah, I think one thing I'd like to add is within the academy is we increasingly encourage our community of investors to balance their portfolio in consideration of both tech and non-tech deals. In fact, last year we spent some time developing some content around helping early stage investors understand the processes within investing in tech deals in terms of how do you think around this kind of investments, the SMEs and the likes? How do you think about them? How do you value them? How do you negotiate deals with them? And how do you even structure exits with this kind of ventures, the non-tech ventures or the SMEs, which is also another thing that incubators should lean in on in terms of preparing the founders to think with an exit in mind. You don't want to be a founder for you don't want to, or rather, investors don't want to lean into founders who are lifetime founders. Um, have no exit plan in mind, and it's something that we also advocate within the academy to have the investors also start with an exit thought at the back of their mind as they're engaging or thinking about investments. So, to Gladys's question, yeah, we do encourage our investors to balance their portfolio and also lean into the SMEs and the likes.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, David and Fiona. I'll just launch our feedback form, but I'm happy to take on maybe one last question. And if we have time, if people are still here, I have some questions from David and Fiona. I'll try to get one or two that they're also curious about, but just wanted to make sure that there's space for one more question from the group.
Hi, here. Thanks. This is Tawanda from
Yeah, go ahead,
Zimbabwe.
Tawanda.
Yes, I wanted to find out, is there any open window specifically for Africa? I'm based in Zimbabwe, so I'll be keen to understand if there is any open active window for applications or investment.
Any open applications for investment? Fiona, maybe. Yeah.
Is this with regards, are you a founder or a prospective investor?
Yeah, I don't know if you from your organization or I know it will be difficult to know from other prospective investors, but perhaps from your organization or the ones that you are within your sphere of influence.
Right. So I hope I've understood the question. So currently, if you're an aspiring or active angel investor, we do have an ongoing call for applications for cohort 13 of the African Angel Academy training program, where you'll get an opportunity to really understand the fundamentals around angel investing, strategies, valuations, deal, participate and collaborate with other angel networks and also entrepreneur support organizations to actively deal source and hopefully focus on some applied learning and ensure that by the end of the 14-week journey, the cohort would start on 9th of April. So after the 14-week journey, you should be ready to write your first check. So if you're an aspiring angel investor, yes, we do have the call. Deadline is on Friday this week, 27th. Let me see if I can find the application link for you to learn more and engage.
Yeah, so I'm actually on the opposite side of the aisle. We're a small business enterprise in Zimbabwe. So we're actually looking for investment for what we do in the healthcare space and the education space, so, which is why I was asking if there are any open windows for investment.
Okay.
Yeah, well, thanks for that. Yeah.
Yeah, there is an open window. So the African Angel Academy cohort programs usually wrap up with a startup showcase. And normally we reach out to entrepreneur support organizations and put out a call for startups to be nominated to participate. So that's an opportunity through which you could present your venture to the African Angel Academy community. And also, if you're nominated for the deal days, which the first deal day should be on May 13th. I hope I have my dates correct, May 13th. And through this, you could also pitch. Please let me share my details, and or Rod will share my details with you, and I'm happy to connect after to learn more and share the correct information with you based on your need.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you so much.
Fiona.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Tawanda. All right, so I think we are over time, but if people would like to stay, just one question from David and Fiona that I think is very relevant is, and anybody here can answer, is that we're seeing a shift of incubators also now investing in their portfolio, and maybe creating their own facilities within their organizations. What has been maybe your experience on that? Anything, or do you have any plans to do that, or are you already doing that as an incubator / accelerator? Anybody in the room, if you'd like to quickly answer and share your experience. Everyone's
Maybe
quite
before,
shy in the call
yeah,
today.
maybe just before the people share, I think the question was coming from me actually, and I think what we have seen is after I would say 2 to 3 rounds of incubation, I think 70–80% of incubators are trying to do their own facilities, right? Sometimes it's a donor giving them a line of credits to deploy. But yeah, that was actually the background, or some of them actually also work with angel investors that have their own. So that's a very, I would say, interesting trend. And I was curious to see if it's also happening in the other part of the world.
Anybody? All right, maybe they need time to think, but definitely we can come back to this, David. And I'm also really interested in this because we have been seeing this as a trend as well throughout the global south. So I think it's a way for more sustainability also towards the incubator, right? And then at the same time, also for their portfolio. I will ask around and also let you know.
Yeah, and on this topic, feel free to reach out. I've been doing this for 12 years, happy to share feedback, what works, what doesn't work, and especially if you want to turn into this kind of facility. So reach out to me, LinkedIn, or I will spend time.
Awesome. Thanks, David. On Fiona's end, one of the questions really was about what she also shared in terms of how you prepare your portfolios for investment. So if you'd also like to connect with her on that, that would be great. We can share her details as well. But like if anybody wants to share anything in terms of their process of preparing their portfolios for especially early stage investment, right? So early stage enterprises, and what does that look like right now in terms of your process in your incubator accelerator? All right, we can maybe take this over email or chat. But again, I'd like to thank Fiona and David because this is a really great conversation. I think we've gotten a lot of insights from both of you, especially at a more network level, since both of you really work with a lot of investors together. I think one of the things that we've really highlighted is that there's a lot to leverage in terms of support with investors beyond capital. And it really does pay, pun intended, pay to really be able to learn more about your investors, who you want to connect with, and then getting your portfolios not just pitch ready, but investment ready. And that means leaning into these tools, understanding what they mean and what is best for your portfolio as well. So I think it was a really productive conversation, and we've seen a lot of engagement on the chat as well as like the reaction. So again, thank you to Fiona and David, and thank you to everybody for joining us today. We hope to see you in our next Funding Flora conversations. And I wish all of you a good rest of your day. Thank you so much.